Do you want to just bring that
Okay,
up?
so we are on, we are being recorded now for the Gateway Catholic Council meeting. And we have done the roll call, we have a quorum. Do we have any additions to the agenda? Can I have approval for creating a flexible agenda? Hearing no objections, we'll do that. Next part is to review and approve the minutes. The link is here. Do we have any things that needs to be adjusted with the minutes from last April or from August? Okay, so we'll leave that alone. I'm not sure kind of where this goes, but
You need a motion for that to approve the agenda?
nah, not for this. So we have Betsy Popple listed as our person for adult ed, and we don't have anyone else in there. Do we know? Does anybody here from adult ed who knows who they have elected as their reps? All right, we will look into that. Right now, the list that we have that Nicole Stout kindly sent to me doesn't have them listed because they are not part of the bylaws yet, even though we've been doing it historically for that. So,
Sharon, I do know they had a change where now when they hire anyone new in adult ed, it is a staff position, not a faculty. So Betsy's probably one of, the ones that have been there for a while under faculty. They may not have any additional faculty.
I think that part of the bylaws that we have too, though, is that people who serve in primarily faculty positions like counselors, librarians, who are full-time, and they would still count, have representation with us because they have so many interests that align with ours. I don't know if they also have staff people that are on the staff council, but luckily that's beyond my pay grade. So, Bill, I'm sorry, Chris, I will turn it over to you for officer reports.
All right, everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. The officer reports, we'll start off with Audrey Ostendorf, or Richard Clark for CRC.
Hey, Chris, thanks.
All right.
So the last CRC meeting was the cycle A for the academic year of 2024-2025, and it was a quite lengthy meeting. It actually went on for about 6.5 hours, which typically isn't normal for a CRC meeting to go that long. Typically, they're only 2 to 3 hours. So I did send this out, and I think Sharon posted this in the, I think Sharon, you shared this meeting, noteworthy items, the summary of the meeting that I sent. But I'll just quickly kind of give an overview. So there was a new program proposal for automation, industrial, and robotics technology out of E-Town. And Sam Collier had sent me an email about this, and I voted no against it for him. And a lot of the other colleges were on the same page because this new proposal is a duplication of a lot of other programs, and no one was consulted, or very few people were consulted. So for the automation, industrial, and robotics tech program, that was withdrawn. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. And then moving on, any questions about that?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay, moving on, FYE 110, first year experience and applications. That would combine not only like an FYE 105 class, but some aspects of CIT. So that is one that Franny Bennett does support, and we did not get to discuss the digital literacy status. So that was just revisions to the course description and the competencies. Those were endorsed by CRC. And then the discussion of digital literacy status, that will be requested in the future. And then for folks with who teach the foreign languages, there were new course proposals for American Sign Language 103, 104, 203, and 204, and those were endorsed with edits. And then French, German, and Japanese course revisions were endorsed. And then for Ty Fitzgerald, the manufacturing, engineering, and technology course revisions were all endorsed with edits, and the MET certificate and program curriculum revisions were also endorsed. And then for paralegal, that curriculum, those program curriculum revisions were endorsed with edits. And then we went on to reaffirmation of digital literacy status for CIT, DLC 101. However, Education 204 was withdrawn. And any education folks that want to talk to me about that, I can talk to you individually. And then the following programs were endorsed for reaffirmation of digital literacy status. So we had nursing AAS, integrated nursing AAS, and academic career mobility. And the 3 nursing programs, they had indicated they had met all of the digital literacy rubric criteria. However, CRC only endorsed rubric criteria 1, 3, 4, 6, and 7. And they only really needed 5 to pass for reaffirmation. And then moving down, we had religion 150 and 160, and those were endorsed for addition of cultural competence status. And then we had reaffirmation of gen ed status courses, psychology 180, human relations, and psychology 185, human potential. There was some discussion that abnormal psychology, that would be a course up for a name change due to the negative connotation of abnormal. And then reaffirmation of both cultural competence and gen ed status courses were endorsed for sociology 101. And then at the very end of the meeting, we had some discussion about mapping new program workflow. So any colleges who wanted to submit a new program proposal, we might be revisiting that workflow process. So there were suggestions about all stakeholders should be consulted. And case in point, or the case example, would be the new program proposal that eTown, that David Lake from eTown had proposed. And there weren't enough people that were consulted on it. So information will be coming from that, and Chair Hertz will present this, Sharon, at the Senate Council. So
Can't wait. Thank you.
Yep. And then finally, the meeting format and process discussion. So, you know, this meeting was unlike any other meeting. I've been doing this now since, I believe, 2022 when I took over for Sarah Smith. And this was the rarest meeting, as I said. So we've had an unusually high volume of proposals resulting in extended discussions. And so there were several, and this has happened all last year, where our meetings are going over those 2 to 3 hours. And so, and then folks that have to sit in those meetings, like Ty Fitzgerald, I know he sat in there until from 10 a.m. until I think we finally got to his stuff at like 1:30 or 2. So there's some different suggestions. And so a couple of things they talked about was limiting the number of proposals accepted per cycle. However, I don't know if that's actually going to work because we only have 4 meetings a year. Splitting proposals across 2 meetings when the agenda is lengthy. And then the final option, which sounds probably like the best option, asking any submitters across the state of the 16 colleges to work with their local CRC rep at their individual college to review proposals before they're submitted to the KIM workflow. And so that would have been helpful, I think, for Ty Fitzgerald if I had actually seen that before he submitted. I could have helped him with some basic grammar and mechanics. We spent about an hour and 15 minutes on grammar and mechanics and wording and Bloom's verbs. So if anyone else has any ideas, and we also, if you submit something, you don't have to stay in that meeting from the time it starts till it ends. I could message you on Teams and let you know you will be next. That way you don't have to sit in those meetings. So if anybody has any additional feedback, please email me. And then again, if you are submitting any revisions or new proposals, please email me and give me 5 business days prior to whatever cycle you're submitting for me to help you and review your curriculum. And that's it.
All right. Thanks, Audrey. So next we have rules with Krista Campbell.
In contrast to Audrey's experience, the Rules Committee meeting was about 40 minutes long, and we only covered 2 items, one of which was updating a readmission guideline for the nursing program at Madisonville Community College. So that did not affect us. And then there was an overall deleting of a KCTCS rule about not withholding transcripts for financial obligations, which is something that has been out of practice anyway, so it was just kind of a formal editing, and that was all.
Cool.
All right, thanks. Next we have safety with Jennifer Ashbaugh.
I don't believe that Jennifer is anywhere at the moment, so we'll have to get with her later, I guess.
Okay. All right, so next we have the board of directors with Paul Klein.
Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
can
can
hear you,
hear you.
Paul.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, we can
I
hear you.
struggled for the connection for some reason today, but
You turn that off.
anyway, the board, I feel like the board has made a turn for the positive. We were short members and we got 4 new members. And so it's always good to have like new blood in there, new ideas. There's a couple, I think there's 3 women and 1 male. And we've met several times actually from the first meeting. We had a tour of Thai and looked at all the facilities down there. And we haven't made our new committees yet, but I'm kind of excited in the direction that the board's going. There's a few other things I wanted to mention. One of our graduates was hired by Gateway. So he was an ex-Marine, I believe, in the Armed Services for 20 years. And maintenance and operations hired him right after graduation. So that was really exciting. He gave a little talk on that. And then just on the enrollment side, Huh?
What was his name? I think he might have been one of my students.
Mike Weber.
Yes, he was awesome. That's great to hear. Thanks.
And just to throw out there, I don't know if Natasha's on there. He made a positive compliment of Natasha's teaching. So it's always good to get feedback like that from a alum. Yeah, and so the last thing I wanted to mention is the enrollment numbers. Like, this is the second highest enrollment we've ever had, or the second time we've been over 5,000. The record is 5,067 in the spring of 2012, and this year we hit 5,006. So, you know, that's really something that we should be excited about compared to the other community colleges across the nation. I think KCTCS is also up 8%. So that's always positive news. So that's all I got. I'm so glad that my microphone works, but that's it for me.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. All right, well, back to you, Faculty Chair Sharon Down.
All right, so I don't really have a lot to talk about other than I was elected the vice chair of the Senate, and so I'm now going to get to be in more meetings. They have a prep meeting coming up for the Cycle A for us, and I may have some things that I can share at that time. But I really don't have anything that you don't already know from the regents and things like that. I'll turn it over to Terry for a leadership update.
So I don't have a lot either, except to update Paul what you said when we had that board meeting. You know, we were still enrolling, so now we have record-breaking enrollment. We are, I think, 5,180, and more still students enrolling with the Area Technology Center. So that is just an amazing feat for Gateway to come that far. Spring enrollment has started. As you all know, it's already busy, and appreciate all of you putting time in your calendars for students to advise. That's been extremely helpful connecting students to their advisors. We are in conversations with Florence Fire. It looks like we will be establishing an off-campus instructional site with them to expand our paramedic program again. That should start in the summer. We are looking again at some more options with St. Elizabeth for healthcare programs, giving a proposal to them by the end of October. And just a million little things going on, as you all know, in your classrooms every day, and the enrollment, and students are coming back to campus. I think we're seeing more of a trend of that, which is all wonderful. If you walk around and see students everywhere, it's just phenomenal.
Audrey says yay.
Yay. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I mean, as Sharon said, if you followed the Board of Regents meeting, you know as much as I do about Senate Joint Resolution 179. My understanding is in December at the board meeting, they will vote on which of those recommendations will move forward to the legislature. But that's all I know. But happy to answer any questions.
Who has questions for Terry? Well, thank you so much, Terry, for providing that. So we would like to put the bylaws to bed if we can. I sent those out for review, and so I'll entertain a motion now to, well, first of all, to have any discussion or debate that we want to have. Is there anything that we want to talk about with regard to the bylaws specifically? Hearing nothing, I will entertain a motion for us to vote to ratify the bylaws so that we can get them signed and filed in Dr. Figueroa's office. So Matthew Hafley has a motion. Can I hear a second, please? Second over here. So all those in favor who are voting members, can, if you're online, can you maybe go to the bottom there and the smiley face. Yeah, or raise your hand, that will work too. And then those who are here, if you're in favor of this and you're a voting member, then please raise your hand, and here as well. All right.
We need to keep track of these, right? So,
So Audrey, Chris, Paul Klein, Bill are online, who are voting members.
Lisa's online, but did
Lisa,
I guess.
Audrey.
Want to just do a roll call?
Well, you know what? Let's do it as a roll call. That's even better. I'll let you go through that again, and we'll do the voting that way. That makes a lot more sense.
Okay, so Sharon.
I approve.
Okay, Chris Russi.
Approve.
Eileen Walter, approve. Audrey Ostendorf.
Approve.
Krista Campbell.
Approve.
Michael Palmer, did he join us yet?
He's not joined us.
No, okay. Paul Klein.
Here, sorry, approve.
Randy DeBerry, did he have?
Randy is non-voting, but he's not here anyway.
Elizabeth Goodman. Approve. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Betsy Popple's not here. Richard Clark.
Yes.
All right. Brian Tang, did he come in?
Yes.
No. All right. Sandy Haig. Lisa Sahani.
She's
Lisa
on.
Sahani.
Lisa, do you approve the bylaws that were sent out
Or not.
or not?
This is Mike Riley. I know Lisa had another curriculum committee meeting, and I think she had to step out.
Okay, that's fine.
Thanks, Mike.
We can have that
All
as an
right,
extension.
so Bill Caparetto.
Approve.
All right, and Weston Shaw.
Yes.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You said we just need one over half, so then we're good. We have 11.
So then that motion carries and the bylaws will be signed and sent to Dr. Figueroa. And that will mean that for adult ed, we will need to get those 2 people on our official list and we'll need to figure out who they are and start doing the terms like we do for all of the other folks. Any new business? I guess the new business that's listed here, these are the dates and times for the meetings. They're all on Fridays. This is the first one for Cycle A. Cycle B will be in December. Yes.
I'm sorry, you can finish that. I just have something to say for old business.
Okay.
Came to me.
February 21st and April 4th will be the 2 in the spring. They will be 9:30 to 11. AIPDs will be after all of those, as well as some other AIPD dates. The January 10th one's the only one coming up. And Eileen, yes.
Well, okay, so 2 things. I've got an old business thing, but the new business thing, the meetings, I may need someone to be taking notes because right now I think I have a Friday class that is going to be starting at around 10 o'clock or something in the spring.
Okay.
So, anyway, old business. Terry, I think we had talked about the possibility of creating some type of online FYE type course that we could have some of the students come in, like the high school students coming in, take solely online, something
Like an orientation?
Yeah, but we weren't
gonna charge them for it.
remember any progress towards that.
Well, Shelby does an orientation for them.
Right. Remember how we talked about how they
Yeah.
aren't quite ready to be here and
Yeah.
some of them, and some of them are, but some of them don't know how to approach their professors. They don't know the rigor of the work, that kind of stuff. So we had talked, do you remember talking?
I
so
do.
We had talked about that, and I just didn't know if that ever went anywhere.
No, that must have been a pre-COVID discussion.
No,
Was it?
I think it was just it was maybe,
It was a meeting last year, I think, where we talked.
Yeah, it was like maybe at the
brought
end
it
of
up
last
as
year.
Discussion.
yeah.
Okay.
We were downstairs.
Okay, I can ask, see
I know
if
I
Shelby-
participated in so I think we tried to run 2 or 3 in the summer. We had one person show up for one at the Thai building, and then we had a full house kind of parents and students.
Yeah.
Right, kind of in August, or no, in July. But I'm not sure if we ran it online or not. As
Wait, if it's
like
not-
a synchronous kind of thing.
Throwing around ideas, like, what if we made it mandatory for anybody who's coming in who hasn't graduated high school? They come in, it's mandatory but free, something they could do online. So not a lot of obstacles, I guess, monetarily to worry about. CPE wouldn't be involved as far as trying to fund anything. It would be online and it could be open for, a certain amount of time. And wouldn't necessarily be worth credit, but it would be something that would be, maybe it is worth credit, I don't know. But it was something that at the time we had discussed, like it would be a really small amount of money for the payoff.
Yeah, and we
As
do
far
make
as-
people who want to have a thing with their advisor, they have to do an orientation online now to be able to make that appointment, so we can make it that same kind of thing.
But it's gotta be a little bit more rigorous than just that, like an online orientation. It's gotta be something that helps them realize
High school
the
facing.
amount of the work and that, you need to be prepared for teachers not to accept late work. The number of students who have that expectation of taking a test and feeling like they didn't do well, handing in the test, asking you when the retake is, like assuming that there's a retake.
Train them.
Like that's not the case when you're in college. When you're in college, you need to step up to the plate and take ownership for your work and all that kind of stuff. So it would be a great time for us to talk about AI usage as well.
Yep, which we did actually at that other meeting. Audrey, I see you have your hand raised.
Me and Shelby would tell.
Hey, yeah, Sharon, and to piggyback off of Eileen's point, another thing about not just work, but like the technology in college versus the technology used in high school. So students really don't, they usually use Google Docs. So they have a hard time understanding, and you can turn a Google Doc into a PDF and upload it, but they're not familiar with Blackboard. They don't know the ins and outs. They don't know, for example, how to attach a document. You know, there's some basic stuff that they don't know. And so it might be helpful, you know, just to have some kind of course that says, even a video. Like I know Steve McGuire, he makes great videos. And even having some of those videos embedded into like a course where it says, you know, hey, here's how you download Microsoft Word to your computer. Here's how you upload a document in Blackboard. Those kinds of things. So more of like the pragmatic, you know, even beyond the mentality of, you know, adhering to deadlines. It's just the technology difference. That's all.
I think that I'm on one of the STEM committees that we've created some videos like that so they're already on the shelf to be able to be used.
Well, I think Sarah and who's the other lady from TLS? Robin. They've made a lot of little shorts about different things.
For those things too, yeah.
Utilize.
There's a whole Blackboard orientation now also.
Right.
That covers a lot of that kind of stuff, like how to use.
Right. I don't find the Blackboard part as much as not understanding the rigor and how much responsibility a college class is versus a high school class.
Yeah.
I think that really has to start with the conversations at the high school early. I mean, a class could be maybe helpful, but really it has to come from the counselor setting the and the teachers, and the parents.
Or inviting us in to come and do some of that stuff in the high schools. I want to do that forever.
I know Shelby just talks about that in all the orientations. I'm just texting with her to see.
So while you're doing that, Audrey says they could watch the video and practice uploading a document, for example. That could be like an assignment. And I also recognize Paul Klein. You've got your hand up. So
Yeah, just quickly, last week, IT, I guess system-wide, put an extra level of security on the Wi-Fi. I'm just telling this as a side note to the faculty here. So all of the dual credit Chromebooks will not work on our Wi-Fi unless first they connect to the Wi-Fi and then sign into their Chromebooks. So I thought I would throw that out there. If you're using that, there's no other way to get to Wi-Fi, which kind of is essential, right, for at least in my class, for their learning. The other thing I would throw out on this topic is I find that they don't watch the videos, you know, on the online classes and stuff. Like I think it's great to have a resource there, but I have a hard time getting my students to watch videos. So I don't know.
Engage.
Yeah.
Oh, I can add to what Paul just said. The IT folks were bringing around a sort of handouts so that the high school, the dual credit students would have that. I don't see one in here, but I asked them to send me a copy, and I sent it on to Shelby and said, can you send this to the high schools? I think that part of the problem may be that they need to clear their cache because their Chromebook is trying to connect to the Wi-Fi that used to work. And so, and they don't ever, you know, even reboot their computers, much less clear their cache. So I sent that so hopefully they will either get that fixed and help the students with that, or they'll give them new Chromebooks, because some people don't have any problem at all doing what needs to be done, and some people, it cycles the whole class because they can't do anything.
They reset the servers.
Yeah, they did reset the servers.
And so the students can go in and then they have to re-log in, but they should only do it once. So they go in, because the student dual credit student Wi-Fi used to be hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And then now they made it, I guess, not hidden or something.
Hidden, unhidden.
So that's why. So because the IT person at TIE actually came into my class, and actually showed the whole class how to do it.
Yeah.
But so it's something they'll have to do once, but then
it should work from now on.
It'll work from there. Yeah. So they just have to re-log in one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and then I also was in the meeting, and they said that the Chromebooks, so many times these schools get deals on the Chromebooks, and after so many years, they don't receive updates. And so a lot of our students are having older Chromebooks that aren't able to receive any kind of the updates that are going on, and therefore it's
They
more of an
can't.
issue.
These things, yeah.
Yeah, what Shelby said is that CPE will not allow those students to take FYE 105. And if there's not a way to log into PeopleSoft somehow, who would have taken a course like that, it would be manual and impossible because they have close to 2,000 students.
Let's keep thinking about that.
So that's why if you get like the FY, what was it, FY 110, that you can get
The
different
dual
courses,
literacy with
then
it too.
can for CPE allow that?
I don't know if they would or not. I don't know if Summer, I think it's South Central that has that class. I can certainly ask them if they have dual credit students that take it.
Because I mean,
Or
CPE,
CPE.
wouldn't that be a way to?
That would be a
Get
great
around that?
solution. We did
Yeah.
talk, I did bring it up to CPE when I was at that meeting at Pedagogicon, and they were shocked that we even thought that they needed it. And I was talking to the lady and I was like, oh, absolutely. It was Dr. Weiss that I was talking to.
Oh, yeah, Jana Weiss.
And she seemed very surprised, and I was like,
But they
there's
needed
some-
digital literacy or?
that they needed FYE.
Oh, okay.
That they were that they just were not prepared. They're not, I can't say all of them. There are very many of them that are not mature enough to be able to handle the content that is included, or the amount of studying and outside class participation that's needed. They don't seem to grasp what they have to do on their own. Because, for instance, in a math class in high school, it probably came easy to them and they didn't need to study. They could go to class and do the homework. And I even find that with some of the online 150 classes, I've got the instructor saying, the students want me to pull out the homeworks. And I'm like, don't do that. They're missing the whole class. Like, they're missing the rest of it. They're trying to jump in and do homework without learning the materials. And that's not a mentality that a dual credit student who's supposed to be part of the upper echelon of their school, that's not what they should be doing when they're going into a college class to be successful.
Well, the bigger problem is that they are so over scheduled. They're in band and choir and cheer and every under the sun, and it's just a mess. And there's no way any human could do what we're asking of them. Beth, chair recognizes you.
Thanks, Sharon. I was just going to say I have some dual credit students in the IEC program, and a number of them I've struggled with them having jobs and working right until class begins. So then they join late or they join, whatever. And so I fully agree that I'm seeing the same trend with some of our dual credit students.
Yes, chair recognizes Elizabeth.
I mean, I don't know if the high school is like, it sounds like it's more of like a high school problem, like they should have their own class. If their kids are gonna take dual credit classes, they should set up like a small extra, I don't know what, like.
They won't, these
and
kids
a-
don't have
a,
any time.
An elective or something, and they just do it like once a week, go through some
I mean, it sounds
content.
wonderful.
Or even
Yeah,
some
I
type of
mean, that would
support
be,
class,
if
like
you
a
want
workshop.
your
Yeah.
kids to succeed in this, and they're not, obviously not apparently preparing them with their own curriculum, which is what high school is kind of supposed to do. I mean, in theory, right? It's either supposed to prepare you for going to work or going to college. So it's like they kind of are falling down on
They
the job
don't
in
think that they're
regard.
falling down at all. The conferences with the counselors, they are not supportive of the Gateway people. They are thinking
Yeah.
that their students are the one. It's kind of like somebody telling you your student misbehaved.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, my student could never have done that. They
Right,
would never have acted like that. They would have never, it's like,
right.
okay, hold on. If you're telling me my kid that just misbehaved, I'm going to believe you that my kid must have misbehaved, and I'm going to try to take action. And that's not how
Yeah,
it's,
that's
that's
why I'm
not
like-
how it goes down.
I
They're
don't
very
know if like
defensive.
CPE can do anything on our, like, I don't know if it's a CPE, like they need their own like K
Well-
through 12 admin, like making them require that or something.
I doubt that they would require something more of students who are going to take the college classes just because they're already so overscheduled and they think these students are their elite students as well.
Yeah.
So they're the ones who could just automatically do it, and I just don't know that the students are prepared
Well,
and
right, 'cause
have
they,
that automatic
yeah,
knowledge.
and they
Like,
believe
I
that students automatically just know how to use a computer, and
Right,
but they don't.
right.
Yeah,
That's all it is, yeah.
it's they're taking a lot of stuff for granted just because they can like use their cell phone. or
So,
whatever.
so if we could, if there's some way that we could get them some kind of information, that would be,
I just-
that would be
yeah.
the best, but I
Well,
don't
would they
know.
be receptive to it then? It sounds like there's kind of.
I don't
like
think
a-
the high school would be receptive. I think the students think that they're somewhat privileged to go to the college, which they should feel that way. And I would hope that they would take advantage of being asked to an FYE class that would be free of charge. But then again, if we don't require it, you're gonna get the kids who
They're
don't
not
need it
gonna do it.
anyway there.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
problem. The problem is, it's just like when you offer tutoring and the people who don't need it are the ones who show up. And the ones who are in desperate need of it, they obviously don't need it in
Yeah.
their mind.
Do the high schools have anything to say when you tell them that their students are not passing college classes?
Oh yeah, they told me that it was my fault and that if they were the teacher that they would have looked at themselves. I'm like, I was going to call the meeting because I'm concerned about how they got in the class and what kind of stuff they had. I had a
Yeah.
student with a 4.3 GPA who had a 17 on her ECT. That's why she's not being successful in college algebra class, because she didn't meet the standard. But according to their inflated GPA, she did meet the standard. So, oh, well, she just struggled through a class that she could have stayed in high school and taken and been
Right.
very well versed in.
Yeah.
But instead they pushed her into a college class that she struggled the whole way. And, did she come out with a B? Yeah, but was it something that, she struggled every moment of that class. There's no reason for a high school student to struggle through college algebra. It's algebra 1 and algebra 2 from high school. They shouldn't have to take college algebra.
George has in here that he doesn't see it as an issue for in-person classes, and Audrey says, agrees with you, Elizabeth, maybe over the summer before the student enrolls for college courses. It seems it would behoove the high school to offer something like an orientation to college night in the late summer or early August, so they can prepare their students to be successful at their respective high schools. So I know that we do something here now. Maybe,
I don't know if they still have that dead zone time.
Oh, maybe.
You know what I'm talking about
Dead
for
period.
sports and stuff, the dead period?
July.
I don't know if that's something.
That's
I
on
don't
the
know.
ongoing
Nathan, do
basis.
you have something to add?
So I actually asked my students, one of the discussion questions I asked them was what's their hardest challenge or most difficult challenge academically, or their biggest obstacle to college success. And so the students will freely admit it's time management. And I think as we mentioned, they're so scheduled in high school, and because I think all your high school teachers and coaches, they kind of recognize that. And so I think they limit how much they give them for each class because they know they have all these other things. Whereas when you come to college, I'm going to assign you the work I think you need to be successful in this class. I don't want to say I don't care what your workload is in other classes, but that's not my primary responsibility because you're supposed to take that account when you schedule your classes. And so, I think that is a big shock to the students then when they get there. So I think the students realize it. I just don't think that, like you said, trying to get high school people, again, more the faculty, administration, high school, to recognize that is, I think, the bigger issue. And I wouldn't have thought that students in this day and age would need digital literacy because they're all on technology, but I don't know if it's the digital literacy or as much it is them not being able to actually think.
Think through a problem, yeah. Or do something
Yeah,
that's.
it's a lot for them to process.
Yeah,
So-
I can see that.
So Terry, I have a question for you. I don't know if it would be appropriate for us to create some kind of a committee to look at this and make recommendations, but maybe talk to Shelby first and see if she would like to ask some of us. I think we've got more than enough interest and more than enough ideas here to kind of see if we can find some solutions to this problem, because it only helps the students in the
It
long
has to
run.
be based on the student's success, and that's what we all want. We all
Yeah,
want
exactly.
the students to be successful in our class, and knowing that some of them show up to our class without those skills that are assumed, that's a big problem in the classroom. You know, I mean, that's the biggest part. It's not that I can't get them to do math. I can't get them to understand the time management and the amount of studying that needs to happen, or how they should study to make it happen.
Yep.
I mean, I would suggest inviting Shelby to a meeting so that we all understand what is already being done by us, by the schools, and then to see if there is a gap, and then to hear the challenges of maybe requiring something and being manual and tracking 2,000 students. So I think it would be good to have a dialogue with her.
So we will extend that invitation to her and see what she has to say.
And we're not the only KCTCS class schools having this issue. I mean, I've been at numerous different, the Kentucky Mathematical Association of two-year colleges is all KCTCS people. And it's not a bashing on dual credit. It's not that at all. It's that we're realizing that they need these skills that they're coming to us without, and we don't have a way to be able to get them the skills and not take away from our own curriculum.
Yeah, I can also bring it up at the Senate meeting and see what the other reps around the system have, what they're seeing, and maybe some of their ideas. We could try to bring that back.
I know we recommend FYE be taken their first year. Is there a way to require that be taken the first semester?
You can't with dual credit students. CPE will not cover that. It doesn't fall.
I know not dual credit, but I'm curious.
Oh, well, yeah, we tried to put them in the first semester.
Are we really?
Probably.
And are our dual credit students really the elite students? Because I don't feel like I feel like
I don't
it's
think
just
that's
any.
the intent for them to be the elite students. I think the intent with the change to the A&P policy is to give students who have a reasonable chance of success an opportunity to see themselves as a college student, to get some early wins, whether that's in the gen eds or the technical programs, so that it's not just the elite that get to go to college.
I don't necessarily feel like I'm the best and brightest.
No, and I don't
But
think
I'm
that was
also
the
getting
intent.
some sophomores.
No.
Right, I do get sophomores, but I get sophomores who are going into a class that would typically be a little higher, so, yeah.
All right, Audrey Ostendorf.
So, yeah, I really like Terry's point too. You know, it's not really about the elite and best and brightest. But we really do want to make sure that these kids are successful. And, you know, I've been teaching the dual credit students since 2015. And this is something that people, I didn't have opportunities like this. So this is something that's new, and we've been doing it now for probably a decade. We probably do want to see collectively what are some things we can make sure that these kids are successful. For the most part, they're always there. I mean, that's the big thing. They do their work, but they do run into issues with like technology. That's my biggest thing, just the technological aspect of it, with their Chromebooks and the documents and that kind of thing.
Weston, do you see students doing their work in the science classes?
Yes and no. I've had a lot of students this semester just not turn in their test by the due date.
Because that's the stuff that Matthew and we talk regularly.
Yeah, I'd say it was
And we noticed that.
at least 10%. Just don't do it.
George,
I gotta get on with stuff.
George Matthews adds, I remind our students all the time that they should think of their college experience as a necessary investment in themselves, which is good.
I would just like to say I am a dual credit instructor, and I have all these problems that you're saying.
Okay.
Part of this one problem I have, and kind of he talking about, the brighter students. Like, I kind of feel like they send them to automotive because they don't think they're going to do anything else. So.
That's true.
Yeah, probably.
I get that in the.
And it's especially one particular high school, but it's like they sent me all the ones that aren't going to be successful in anything else is how I feel. And when you talk about, we shouldn't have to unlock homework for them. If I didn't unlock it, almost 3/4 or 90% of my class would fail. And then at the end of the semester, last year, my first year doing it, I then had the counselor calling me, asking me what we could do to pass them through. So, yeah, it's like, what can you open?
We shouldn't have to give into that. We shouldn't have to give in
No,
to
'cause
lowering
they're
their
the ones,
standards.
they're supposed to be passing their
because-
students, not you.
Right.
But, a
Like,
lot of
that's
mine
not-
is just, they're not turning it on time. And if they don't turn it on time, they're locked out. And so
Right.
they fail just on that.
Right.
Um,
Well, and that's the kind of stuff that I was getting pushback from. Do not ever meet with the counselors by yourself. Always have your dean with you. Because that was a soul crushing experience that I will never go through again. And I have been teaching since 1990. I will never, ever meet those people again by myself.
And, also, some of the ones I get, they kind of, like, they're too immature to be in an automotive shop. And so I'm constantly have to get on them about horseplay and keeping your hands to yourself. I feel like
Well,
I'm
And
a
Dave
junior
Schaefer will
teacher.
talk about the electrical stuff. He's the students who will mess around to the point where it's a safety concern.
I teach electrical. I know they're the ones that do it. Yeah, they're like, they're not quite there yet. I feel like I'm dealing with junior high or elementary school students. They're not the juniors that I thought I was getting. That being said, my seniors, they don't have senioritis yet, but my seniors are pretty much, they figured it out by now. But when they were juniors, I didn't have them
It's a
as juniors.
maturity. I mean,
Does anybody come and observe your classes from the school?
Rodney and Sam do.
Well, I mean, from the school.
Oh,
Like,
from their
not,
school?
not all
No.
of them, like their teachers or.
No, I've never had.
and if they do, they probably act differently.
Well,
Yeah, they
true.
would. Yeah,
I feel like
because
there needs to be some presence from the school
But at
there.
least if Sam is there, I mean, he's the dean, he should know what's going on in the class and what isn't going on in the class.
Yeah.
And if he's teaching a class that's dual credit and not dual credit, he's teaching the material, the students need to respect it enough to be.
Oh,
able to
no,
do
I
that,
agree. No, I'm just saying that if it's like a behavior issue, there should be some sort of like physical teacher liaison from the school there, especially if it's like a safety hazard.
But then I think one
That's
time in your
so-
out, I don't think
Yeah,
you
you
get,
should
I don't
out.
think you should get second chances on safety
Yeah.
things, not when it's affecting so many
I
people.
mean, with my current junior class right now, I've had a hard first start with them. I would probably lose 75% of them because of the way they act. I mean, if we were to crack down on them and actually ask them to leave for the way they act, probably.
But you know what? Maybe us asking them to leave because of discipline issues would be an eye opener to the schools to realize, look, this is not a place where we have to have immature students. Anybody who walks in the door is required to behave this way and follow these rules. And if they don't, they're asked to leave because of a safety concern. There is no reason that we should be teaching in a unsafe situation.
Exactly.
Right?
To the counselors, are they aware of the way that the students are behaving?
So I had an incident a couple of weeks ago. You may or may not have heard about that maybe I went over and above, but I contacted Shelby and their school counselor and reported it. And then next thing you know, I had parents saying, not my junior would never do that. So that's kind of where that was. But kind of nipped it in the bud. But
Cameras in your area?
we do in the shop, but not in.
Not in the area that
No,
we're.
well, yeah, not in the ATEC lab and stuff like that. But I did basically send out a email to our counselors, basically saying that it will not be tolerated. It's a privilege to be an automotive student here, and I want these students to know that I can, with a simple email, have them out here. Because
Can you?
I believe so. I believe I can uninvite them. Correct on that. I believe I can uninvite them. I've been told by the previous instructor that if I have an issue, to let Shelby know about this, give them a little bit of a warning, and then uninvite them the following.
Yeah.
Back the following semester, what are you doing with the rest of the
Like,
semester?
I'm stuck with it. Yeah, I can't.
See, but that needs to be a place where we need to bring Terry in, and we need to say, no, this can't happen.
I wonder what would happen. I remember when we had COVID. I have a couple of people I need to read here on the chat, but I had some students right when we came back from COVID who refused to wear their masks properly, and I warned them in class, and they continued to mess around, and I sent them away. I said, "You're done for the day. You're going to go back to your high school, and you're going to think about this, and then you're going to decide if you want to come back and follow the rules." And so maybe something like that would be a shot across the bow. I did have. Of the 3 students, 2 of them straightened up and flew right. One of them still kind of messed around, but not as, they didn't end up being successful. But over here, Audrey says, sometimes I have to move students away from the buddies. I hate assigning seats in college. I do the same thing. Randy says, I've seen a decline in the attention span and behavior of my dual credit classes as well. They are starting to deal with some of the lasting effects of the COVID lockdown, as these students were in younger grades and missed out on important developmental period in their lives. Friends of mine who teach in high school are experiencing the same thing. Yeah, our dual credit students were in middle school when COVID, they never came back after spring break. Beth says, I'm also think we're seeing the impact of COVID infections on the students' cognition, etc. It wasn't the lockdowns, it's the virus and how it impacts the entire body. And that's also a really good point. Anyway, I'm pretty sure we can't solve this right now, but we can ask Shelby to come in and we can have a discussion about this with her present and get her perspectives.
Terry, what kind of thing would you suggest for a situation like Richard? I have also asked students who are not participating in class the way they should. I've asked them to leave and how.
I was told that I can't make them leave because they may not have a ride or a school bus to come get them.
But they have a safe place to sit and wait.
I guess I could make
Will
them
we
go
be
sit security
supported
guard.
in that though? That's, I guess.
Well, we
what
have
I
to
wanna know.
certainly go through a process, and make sure, that they're safe, because some of them take the bus.
But our lobby area is safe for them to sit in.
Well, you never know where they're gonna go.
You don't, but we are providing them for a safe place.
If they're old enough to be in a dual credit class, they should be old enough to have a response, like a consequence. Because they're relying on people like falling back on, oh, well, I can do whatever I want because people are going to make concessions for me because I don't have a ride or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's, like you said, it's pointing to the fact that maybe you're not ready for this.
Right, but especially if there are safety concerns,
like you need to remove them from the.
Get them out of there. There's a seat. You can sit in the seat until your bus arrives with everybody else. And it's not your responsibility to be babysitting them. You're responsible to teach the class and have them behave in a way that's conducive to taking the class.
And that was the one thing that I wasn't prepared for. I wanted to be a high school teacher, but I didn't realize after teaching adults at night class what different animals they were. And a lot of times it's just me and a couple other faculty there. It's not like we have a big school like this. So the only person that can really usually, if Sam's not there, is Rodney. And Rodney is my enforcer.
Right.
But I shouldn't have to go
You
get an
shouldn't have to
enforcer.
have, you shouldn't have to have that.
Yeah.
You should be able to say, okay, I'm done with this, you're done here, and you need to go sit in this place. And
We need to put some protocols in place. When Shelby is here, when we have that, what is the process we want to follow?
Do you have
Everybody do something, the same thing. Yeah.
Such as
what
behavior.
is it? Yeah, behavior
Yes.
that's expected and what consequences are going to happen. Maybe you need to have an addendum to your syllabus.
Yeah, I don't know if there's consequences in there, but there's definitely.
You will be asked to leave. You will, after 2 times, you will be asked to not return to the class period. That kind of stuff. And then.
That's a good idea.
And then, but making an addendum and start it the next class. Put it out there online, put it out to the students in writing, say this is what we have. And, if you want to meet their conversation.
Yeah.
Audrey Austin George says, welcome to my world. So,
What does Audrey teach?
Audrey teaches English, so she and I have many of the same issues.
Not very.
There's no way you can really hurt yourself with, well, you can hurt yourself with words, but not in quite the same life-threatening way.
Yeah. Well, you see, I've been keeping them out of the shop because of the way they are.
But that's not fair to the students who are being
Exactly.
themselves, right? They're not
Exactly.
learning what they should be learning, and that's not what should be happening in a college class. In a college class, you should be able to teach your material to people who willingly want to be there, who are willing to be respectful of you, and you should be able to carry about business. And if those people are not going to be respectful, they're out. Get that addendum written up. 2 times you're out. Like, once I've asked you twice, you're done. Class is
Certainly
over.
here at Boone, they meet the buses if they're on the bus, down by where the guard thing is. We could put some more seating down there and just, that's where you go.
It's the timeout area.
It's the timeout area, yeah.
No, we
Timeout.
need
Sorry.
more seating. We need students to be more respectful.
Yeah.
That's what it is. We don't
That'll get the school's attention, I think, too, if we did it once or twice.
Yes, but we've got.
Oh, I agree with Terry. We need to have a policy
Yeah,
where
you're-
we're all doing we're not all doing kind of a
Consistent.
cowboy thing.
This is not, I don't want you to get the impression I don't want to teach dual credit. Some of the dual credit students are fabulous. It's just the ones it's the few that are not up to standards. You know, those are the ones that we're complaining about. But if all of us are having them and they're disrupting their classes, and all of those kids come to school together, you know, it's that same disruption for those students. That's not fair for them to be in a class that they're being caused to not be able to get in the shop because there's a student who's a safety concern.
And they feed off of each other. I have one particular one that kind of, I feel like he bounces off the walls. Well, once he starts doing that, a couple other ones start doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like trying to get them to calm down like a bunch of untrained puppies. It's like, you love them, but like, you're like, please stop.
That's not your job.
I know. Yeah,
Eileen also, Audrey also says, agree, Eileen, I've had and currently have some fabulous dual credit kids, and I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, I do.
How are we going to form the committee?
Well, I don't think we should do anything until we get Shelby here and see if she wants to invite us to be part of that. I think it's her thing right now. We don't,
I think
we have concerns.
All faculty.
We should just give you a
Yeah.
She's in for all dual credit.
Isn't there another dual credit advisor?
Chris Stout.
Chris Stout is the one here, but he's under her. I mean, he's the liaison with a lot of the students who are here though, so I always copy him on issues. And then he usually is really good about passing it on to the counselor. Yeah, Audrey says Chris should be involved in the conversation too.
So I do teach one class that is not dual credit primarily, but I have two dual credit students in it. Those dual credit students feed off of the college students, and they're well behaved.
Oh, that's exactly it. Yeah, if you have dual credit students mixed, it's a totally different situation than an entire class of dual
Yes,
credit
I
students.
have an entire class.
My
of dual
entire
credit.
class of dual credit students turns into a high school class in a different location.
Yes.
All right, do we have other things that we want to add to this, or should we move on to the open forum and see if there are other things that we want to talk about? Let's go to the open forum. Chair will recognize anyone who has other issues they'd like to bring up this time. Seeing or hearing none, we are at announcements. What announcements do we have that we would like everyone to know about? Things that are coming up? Hearing none of those, I would be happy to take a motion for adjournment.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. I need a second.
I'll second.
Matthew will second. So it's been moved and seconded. Unless there are any objections, which I do not hear, then I call this meeting adjourned. And I'll shut off the recording now.